Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Not sure where I heard that or who said it, but I heard it recently and it really stuck with me. Pretty stormy this morning, but now it's just like wet and gloomy today. Ready to go, Demps? I work for a pretty large company, tens of thousands of employees across multiple countries. Been there 11 years now, and in that time I've had 7 different positions. That means I changed jobs 6 times. 2 of those moves I would consider lateral, and that leaves 4 that I would consider promotional. Sorry for having my shirt off. It's already like 90 something degrees with like infinite humidity here. So looking back on how I ended up with those 4 promotions, there's an obvious theme, and it always followed the same simple approach. I'm just pretending to work here right now, by the way. Making YouTube videos while you're supposed to be working is not a good way to get promoted. Step number 1 is, of course, to do your current job really well. If you don't, not only will you not get promoted, you might actually get fired before you even get the chance. Step number 2 is equally straightforward, and that's to be upfront with your boss about the job that you want and ask for their advice on how to get it.
They don't understand the connection between like, you earn the job you want before you have it.
Step 3 is where it gets harder for a lot of people. Just basically find any way you can to learn and start doing the job duties or tasks or whatever you want to call them without formal recognition, without getting paid for it first. Just be creative and do everything you can to learn the work and actually find ways to do it. Express your interest in the job to whoever has the job now. Again, be creative, talk to your boss, find ways to try to help them out, offer to back them up while they're on PTO or taking vacation time. If they can at least teach you the basics of what you'd have to cover, do whatever you can to try to make yourself the person that backs them up or does the duties of that job that you eventually want. A little toasty, huh, buddy? Probably would have been worth mentioning earlier, but a positive attitude is really a requirement for any of this to pan out. You can't imagine what impact a negative attitude that spreads like a virus can actually have on both your work and the work of your team and the work of a whole department. And the opposite is also true for the positive effect that you can have when you bring a good attitude to work every day. And then just keep chugging along. Keep doing your current job best you can with a really good attitude. Keep finding ways to learn more about the next job and take over duties when possible. And then exercise a little patience while you wait for the role to open up. Chances are when it does, you'll be one of the best prepared amongst the competition. Obviously I'm a remote worker now, but I spent 4 or 5 years in the office, and honestly that made this process all a little bit easier. You can still do it as a remote worker. You just really have to take it upon yourself and push hard to find creative ways to make it happen. Of course, it won't always work out, but the worst thing you can do is refuse to do any extra work without first getting compensated for it. Sure, it would be nice and fair and everything if you always got paid for it first, but if you want a good chance at that promotion, follow my advice and try to make yourself the easiest option when it becomes available. Before I became a team leader, I was a mentor. Before I became a workforce manager, I backed the guy up while he was on PTO. And before becoming a field manager, I had several stints as an interim manager / director kind of dealie. Get the skills first, do the work, worry about the job title and pay later. It'll follow it if you just work a little harder than the person next to you. You'll probably get the promotion when it's time. Today was kind of a test for me to see what it would be like to put up a video that I film, edit, and compile like all in one day. And I think it went pretty well. Like, I don't know how it's gonna do in terms of views, and I don't really care, but in terms of the process, I think it's pretty, replicable for me and doesn't put that much strain on my time. So, I don't know, do you think I should do it? Like, put one up every day? Probably not.